Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first official episode of the LLC Podcast. Yay, applause. Um, Today, we are going to be doing a special CDI Kickoff with with a great guest, Ms. Kelsey Bassey. She's going to be talking about CDI and getting into all the details and all the fun about CDI. My name is, of course, Liz, and I am an LLA here at the LLC. And I am going to be, for the most part, I'm going to be hosting some of these episodes. So today, if we just want to jump right into it, we can go ahead and get into a couple questions. Kelsey, if you want to introduce yourself real quick.
Okay, awesome. My name is Kelsey. I am a senior biology major and Spanish minor, and I'm also the CDI leader, like Liz said. And as has probably attracted you all to the CDI Kickoff, I help students earn their Certificate of Diversity and Inclusion. So if you're interested in that, this is a great place to start. Learn about our program. We host lots of events about diversity and inclusion. We also have discussion boards where we can have discussions about topics related to diversity and inclusion, and it's just a great time.
Fantastic. All right, so we also have another special guest, Miss Mary Jane Partain. If you would like to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure thing. So my name is Mary Jane Partain. I am the Director of Living Learning Communities, and I'm super fortunate because I get to work with Liz and Kelsey both. We have been hosting the Certificate of Diversity and Inclusion for the last almost 6 years now. This program started because we realized that while we value diversity and inclusion, we weren't doing enough to make sure that our students had that skill set developed. And so we met in partnership with the Multicultural Center, the Gender Center, and the International Student Center, and came up with the idea to facilitate this program. And, the basic idea is that we want students, typically freshmen, to start having conversations with people that might not think like them, act like them, don't have the same experiences as them, because we want to create a campus that values inclusion and values individuality, and the differences that make us all the gorgeous human beings that we are. So that's really the heart behind the program. And like I say, we do this program in partnership with the folks who are experts in diversity, equity, and inclusion, so that we are making sure that we're talking about the right things and doing things the way that we should be. And I'm so excited to say that, at this point, we've had almost 800 students complete the program. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited for this podcast. Thanks, ladies.
All right, great. So we will go ahead and get into our Q&A with the lovely Miss Kelsey. So we're just going to be, back and forth about a few CDI questions. But first, Kelsey, I want to get to know about you a little bit. Why did you decide to attend UTD?
Okay, I decided to attend UTD for a couple of reasons. I really was a person who didn't want to go away from my family, so I wanted to stay near my mom. I wanted to be near my family. I wanted to be able to come home whenever I wanted to. So that's why I decided to go to UTD, which is like 30 minutes away from my house in McKinney at the time. That's one reason. I also wanted to go somewhere that was, financially feasible for my family and I. So UTD is one of the most affordable colleges, universities in the state of Texas. That definitely attracted me to our school. And then the size of the school, I feel like UTD is a good size. Like, it's not too big, it's not too small. And I felt like I could find community here, but also it wouldn't be like a party school. I'd be able to focus on my academics, focus on preparing to, apply to professional schools and just getting everything that I wanted out of our school. I really wanted the opportunity to build relationships with my professors and build relationships with faculty and staff. And for the most part, I've been able to do that. So UTD has delivered on that accord. Why did you decide to go to UTD, Liz?
Well, I'm in the same kind of boat as you when you said that you wanted to stay close to your family. My mom is like, she's my rock, like she's the one that I go to for, she's like my counselor in my house. And I live out here in Wiley, so I only live about 20 minutes away. So I always thought maybe I could go somewhere far away and like make my own path. But, once it really got to like actually deciding where I wanted to go, I took a tour of UTD with my friend and she was going and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a really good school. It seems like there's good people here. It's, financially feasible. So I thought, you know what? I'm gonna go here. And so I decided to, I was going to go to Texas Tech, but then I was like, nope, that's way too far away. That's in the desert. I'm better at going somewhere where I can come home on the weekends and see my mom all the time. Also, it's like literally across the street from where my dad works. So that's cool. Um, but I mean, honestly, I really think that UTD is unique in the fact that, it's not really a party school. And even though it's not a super big school, there's still a lot of community within it. Like even though we don't have a football team and we don't have a marching band and all kinds of stuff like that, I don't think those things, really matter to students, because they really I don't want to say all students are really focusing on their academics because, obviously there's some students who are balancing academics and sports or academics and a fine art or something like that. But I feel like UTD is a campus where there's like a lot of opportunity where you could go into, like, you could really find out what field you want to be in. Because I was dead set on wanting to be this pre-med doctor, but then chemistry kind of made me go crazy. So I changed my major and the process was so smooth and I'm not questioning anything really at this point. Like I feel like I made the right decision because there's so many people that are like supporting my decision. And even if I were to change my mind again down the road, I'm sure they would help me just the same. But yeah, so I went from being wanting to be a doctor to now wanting to be a graphic designer. So we'll see what happens. I have a lot of interest and I'm very indecisive. So who knows, honestly. But was there any challenge when you were coming to campus in terms of like getting to know people or, um, trying to get into clubs or trying to get into specific classes, anything like that?
Sure. Okay, can I just say that I was just like you. Like, I think I moved in as a freshman, like on a Wednesday or a Thursday. I was back home the same weekend. Like,
For
I had
real.
to go see my mom.
I
I had to go see
know.
my mom.
Yeah, I know. It's like she's like the person that I could come to just to like chat with, but also like if I'm feeling emotional that day, she's like, I'll be here, you know?
Yeah. And I live in Wiley too. So we probably live
No
like down the
way!
street from each other.
No way!
Back to your question about my experience first coming to campus, or a challenge that I faced. So a challenge that I faced coming into campus was I really had to work to find people that looked like me. So I think African American students make up 5% of our student population. So I didn't have a lot of classes with other Black students. I wouldn't say that I was the only Black student in a lot of my classes, but maybe there was one or two other Black students. So I really wanted to be around people that looked like me, and it was difficult. I had to seek that out. So I had to go to like Nigerian Student Association meetings or Black Student Union meetings, things like that. And once I found like that community, it was a lot of fun seeing myself represented in like events and dances and all these things. It was really cool to see. But that was one of the challenges that I experienced. And I feel like a lot of Black and Brown students experience coming here because, when I was speaking to students that I work with in the Office of Community Engagement, so a lot of my coworkers were Latino and Latina, and also Black, because our department does a really great job of seeking out students who represent the community around us and the communities that we serve regarding like the high school students that we serve. So a lot of my coworkers were Black and Latina and Latino. And I've heard similar things of just having to be really intentional about seeking out that sort of community. But it does exist here, and it is not impossible to find your people, which is something I really appreciate about UT Dallas. Is it's like any interest you have, there is a place full of people just like you. Like I think we have an anime ensemble or something like that. So there's
I
definitely
know, yeah.
it's really cool, but I say all that to say that there's definitely people out there like you. What challenges did you experience when you first came to campus?
Well, let me strap you in for this one. So, obviously, transitioning from high school to college for I'm sure a lot of students is a challenge first off, because like it's a completely different environment. You're around adults and you're not treated as, like a little kid anymore. You're a college student. They're like, yeah, we're all the same person here. Like we don't care what you did in high school, really. We just want to know what you're going to do here on campus. So obviously the pandemic kind of put, it was like a thorn in my side. It was, it was hard, trying to find really anyone to communicate with other than my one roommate and my coworkers, so it was hard to get to know people. And I haven't joined that many clubs yet because, usually there's like how in movies they have the big college orientation where they have all the tables and like all the experience and they're like, join us. I felt like I knew that there was going to be a part of that in orientation because of when I went to tour UTD. It was, I can't remember what it was, but it was like a special day where they had like a big tour and there were tables and all kinds of stuff. So I was like, okay, I can expect this at orientation. But then when I had my orientation, it was like a virtual orientation with like four other people and an orientation guide. And it just didn't feel like I was, getting, having orientation for college. It felt like I was just sitting down talking to a couple of other college students. So it was a little bit difficult. But luckily I do have some friends that I went to school with that also go to UTD. And I also have some friends that I used to go to school with, like in elementary school, that I'm now finding out go to UTD. And it's, fun to find old friends and, join up with them and catch up and everything. But yeah, I mean, it was really, it really did, kind of make me feel like, I don't know. I feel like it put everyone in this kind of bubble where you feel like you need to be so protective of your own health and yourself so you don't, like, everything's like uncharted waters. So, and there weren't like any in-person events or anything. Of course, I lived on campus for the first semester, so I did get some of that like on-person college campus experience, but it didn't really, I feel like I didn't get the full experience, because I only had one roommate and we couldn't really speak to each other that much because every time I was working, she was or every time I was working, she was free. And then every time I was in class, she was free, or every time she was in class, I was free, so it was like our schedules weren't working together. So we, barely really even got to see each other or talk to each other. So that was kind of difficult. But I do like the fact that even though UTD was, basically like locked down because we couldn't have in-person things, I did like that, like the student union, the SWAB, they had so many fun events. Like I did a murder mystery party and it was virtual, but it was so much fun. And we like all dressed up and it was just so much fun, but I could do it from home, and I got to know other people in it. And then
That
I
sounds
also had,
really fun.
yeah, I was like, at first I was hesitant to do it because I was like, oh, is this gonna be like weird? It's gonna be like 5 people trying to play like Clue or something. But it was like professional and with like a company and everything. So it was like, and it was like 12 or 13 people, and like everyone, I felt like, oh, because I dressed up, I dressed up, and because I was a widow, so I just wore all black and a veil and everything. Um, but I felt like, oh, am I gonna be like the only one dressed up? Is there like gonna be nobody else is gonna be dressed? No, but everyone else had costumes on. Everyone, they put in the whole nine. Um, but I mean, it felt like I was still getting a college experience, even though a global pandemic was going on. You know what I mean? So, but I mean, how do you think how do you think COVID has really affected campus culture in terms of like, how people interact, obviously, and how organizations start and everything like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like so much of campus culture is like the things you see walking around campus or like the things that organizations do. Like we always like to talk about the free food that people and organizations are always giving out. Like some things I remember are like during finals week, there was a fraternity giving away Red Bull, and that was like funny to me and my friends. But now, like, all of that is kind of gone. Like, we don't have the talent shows at the plinth anymore. Like, we don't have hanging out at Starbucks. We don't have going to the library at 4 a.m. trying to study. So all
Yeah,
those things kind of like, have really shifted. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's difficult to have a sense of community. It's difficult to feel UTD. Like little things, even like all the little like plastic animals that people move
yeah,
around campus. Like we don't get to see that anymore. So
yeah.
yeah, that's kind of how I feel like things have kind of changed a little bit. That's how COVID is affecting us. What do you think?
I feel like hopefully by the end, I mean, now that people are getting vaccinated and everything like that, I feel like it's gonna be like things are gonna probably go back to how they were, but it's not gonna be the same. Because like I'm sure the people who like initiated those traditions and stuff like that, they might be graduating or they might just completely forget about it. But I feel like even though people are going to be vaccinated and everything, because of the way that, COVID has made this antisocial stigma, people are still going to feel like, they're still going to feel like they can't interact with each other on the same level. So, I mean, I feel like COVID hopefully will not put a huge, I'm sure there's going to be like this like wave of like people not wanting to get together, but then once everyone feels kind of more comfortable, then we'll be seeing more events and we'll be seeing those talent shows again. We're gonna have, I feel like we're gonna get back into a groove once everything is settled and, we'll be able to go to sporting events and we'll be able to, run across campus um, without having to, being scared of wearing a mask or anything like that. But I feel like, I mean, and obviously, like people who commute, they didn't get to have that experience of seeing how COVID has affected campus, and like even seeing groups on campus. I still saw people, like mingling outside, but it was a lot less, because usually you think of a college campus, as this really lively place where people are, they're trying to get to class on time, they're trying to hang out with their friends. You see people sitting at all the tables outside. You see people sitting by trees playing guitars, whatever. But we didn't really get to see any of that. There were like a few groups of like maybe 3 people at a secluded table that was, like 10 feet away from another table. Yeah, it felt like we were kind of getting into this antisocial feeling, but it's college, it's supposed to be fun and cheery and you're being an adult now. Yay. But it just kind of fell flat. So
Yeah, like the buzz is gone.
I
It's not there
know.
anymore. The
Yeah.
hubbub.
I feel like there's always like a gentle hum in the air of like when you're on a college campus, you always hear the gentle hum of like, skateboards passing by, bikes riding by, people, talking as they're walking to class. You hear those kinds of things. You hear tow boards going by, and tow boards are always getting in your way and scaring you because they're walking in front of you. But that is just, I don't want to say it's gone forever, but for right now, it's it just it feels like it's gone. And it's not, when it comes back, it'll I hope we'll be able to get it back to this, at least the same level, but I feel personally like it's not going to be the same level. There's going to be it's going to be a little bit, gentler than it was before. Oh, and by the way, for
Yeah.
our freshmen listening, a towbar is the little food delivery machines. Tobor's robots go backwards. That's how we do things at UTD. We do things backwards. Um, but anyway, what do you think before the pandemic was unique about UTD? Because, obviously it's a college, but everything that I described before, you see that at every college. What do you think, like specifically for UTD, makes it unique in terms of our culture?
You know, I'm really glad that I had the opportunity when I was a freshman and a sophomore. I just went in the deep end. Like I went to every event, poetry slam, like visiting
Oh,
celebrity.
oh
Oh
my
my
God.
gosh. Yes, I went to everything. And I'm so glad I did because
Mhm.
now
Yeah, now it's
you know,
gone.
it's gone. And I don't know if that's gonna like you were saying, I don't know if it's gonna come back before like next by the time next year and I graduate. So I'm really glad I had those experiences. But I feel like what what makes UTD unique? There's so many different things happening. Like there's so many different things people are doing. Like you could be sitting next to someone in class that's doing research on AIDS. And they're gonna change the world probably. Or you're sitting next to
Yeah,
someone who's gonna be like a future doctor. Or you're sitting next to someone who's gonna plan how the next like our city looks in 10 years.
yeah,
I just really love that about UTD. And that's kind of what like diversity on campus means to me is like how many people are doing different things. And I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like so, I don't know, I have this imaginary faith that like everybody on campus is going to do something amazing. Like, I just
yeah.
know it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's what you go to college to do. You're trying to make your
Yeah.
parents proud. I mean, you're spending money, so you might as well try to make some, you know what I mean? Um, but yeah, I feel like one of the most unique things about UTD, like what made me interested in it, was like how kind of, because like we said before, it's not a party school. It's definitely not a party school. If you're coming to UTD to party, you better go in a different direction because we don't really
Yes.
party here. I feel like one of the most unique things is that we're kind of like a geeky, not nerdy, but like we're a little more geeky and campy. Cause like, our big sport is not football. Our big sport is esports, and like we say everything backwards and everyone is, constantly studying because they're going to a school that, has so many different programs that you can explore, cause like you could be an ATech major, but you think you want to change something in terms of the medical field. So you do, like a chemistry minor, and then you end up going to medical school and you didn't even know you were going to go to medical school. So it's like, it feels like the world is your oyster, as they say, and also the fact that our mascot is not an animal, it's a comet, like that's great. I feel like that's unique. We're not like a little raccoon. We're a giant rock hurling in space. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's also really unique. Also the fact that we were founded as a commuter campus. Like if you think of the term commuter campus, you mostly think like community college, because it's going to be a smaller school. But even though I feel like we're like a little tight knit family. And the commuter people, like people who commute, like me, we even have our own, comic commute. There's even a little culture there where everyone can get to know each other. Those are some unique things. Anyway, so that was fun. That was great. This has been we're not over. We're not done yet. Don't even think we're done yet. We're just going to get into a couple of resources and a couple of upcoming events. So some resources that we obviously have. We have our LLC website, or LLC website via UT Dallas. You can find most of our information on livinglearning.utdallas.edu. We have a whole section going or talking about CDI and how you can get involved, how you can get your CDI requirements finished. We have our social medias where you can hit us up. We do a bunch of fun things on there. We do Tip Tuesdays. We do First Gen Fridays, where we interview people who are either first gen or people who head over first gen, so they can give you more resources about things like that. We do my favorite series because I made it, Downtown Debunked, where we talk about where there's things where you can find where to study, where to hang, where to eat, anything like that. We also have Twitter, and both on Twitter and Instagram, the handle is UTDLLC, so it's pretty easy to memorize. It's 6 letters, and it's very to the point. We also have our Facebook. On Instagram, it's going to be a little bit less in detail, but if you go to our Facebook, you can get a little bit more information in terms of if you want to know about more events and like specific ways that you can get in touch with us. So if you want to really understand what we're doing at the LLC and why we're doing it and everything according to CPI, you can find that on our Facebook. Also, this is obviously on our YouTube, but if you want to, you can click around, go to something else on our YouTube. We have more informational videos in terms of CDI and LLC, all things. Kelsey, if you just want to throw out a few resources that you have for CDI, you can feel free.
Yeah. Shameless plug for a CDI summer book
Always
club.
be plugging. Yeah.
Shameless plug for the book club that I started through CDI. We're going to have a book club this summer. So if you're interested, you can go to bit.ly/summer CDI to tell us what you're interested in, what topics you want to read about this summer. And you can also be on the lookout for events from our campus partners like the Multicultural Center, the Galaxy and Gender Center, and more.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we're doing all kinds of stuff. We're always planning, and I love that the LLC, we are, like, this podcast was like I consider it my brainchild, and I love that we're all able to, throw something out on the table, and you think it's not going to happen. It's just, an idea that you thought of, and then all of a sudden you find out that your little post that you wanted to make on Instagram is going on an official Instagram page because you made it. So I don't know. It's fun that we get to, engage in things where you think it's not going to happen, and it really is going to happen. You see your future unfolding in front of you. In terms of follow-up and engagement, we will most likely in these episodes, we will have surveys where we can get your input if you want to ask questions for a future episode, or if you want to just, comment on, oh, I loved it, or you could change these things, or anything like that. Any questions or concerns, you can put that in our survey, which will most likely be in our video description. And we will also have it posted when we post our marketing on Instagram about the podcast. You can also find that information there on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. But other than that, I think this was fun. Was this fun?
It was a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see what we come up with in the future. We're thinking about doing, like, I don't know, all kinds of stuff. We did a little survey to see what topics people are interested in. So we saw a lot of social justice. That's definitely a topic we could talk about, culture, things
Gender
like that.
gap. Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely going to expand on this. This was a lot of fun. Liz, thanks for coming up with this.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I came up with it, maybe I didn't. Who knows?
You
But I mean,
did.
yeah.
Spoiler.
Anyway, so in terms of our podcast, obviously this is our first episode, so you can look forward to a lot of fun things. When you think about LLC, you think about, oh my gosh, how am I going to move in? We got that for you. What's housing like? We got that for you. What the heck is a tow board? What's TMOC? Everything we got it handled. If you think of something, you send it to us. We'll most likely feature it. Who knows? And like if we get into, once we get around Halloween, we're going to get into spooky things. When it's Christmas time, we're going to talk about Santa Claus. When it's, Black History Month, we're going to punch into it. We're also going to be talking about Hispanic Heritage Month. We're going to be talking about Asian and Pacific Islanders Month. Everything. Just think of anything. We got you covered. So this was fun. And I mean, I guess we're closing out. So we will most likely have another episode. We're going to try to post 2 times every month. So look forward to the second and fourth week of each month for an episode to come up on our YouTube. If you want to, you can subscribe here to our YouTube channel and you can turn on your notifications if you want to get those notifications about when the podcast is coming out. Always check our social media. We are always, promoting things over there. And yeah, so this has been Sklat, our official LLC Living Learning podcast where we live, learn, and listen. Okay. Thank you, Kelsey, so much for being here and talking to me. And also thank you, Mary Jane, for introducing yourself at the beginning. This has been really fun. And yeah, go comments. Whoosh.
Woo!
Hey y'all, LLA Liz here. Thank you so much for listening to our LLC podcast. We will be posting 2 every single month, so look forward to that. Once again, you can find us on our social medias at UTDLLC on our Instagram and Twitter, and you can find us at UT Dallas Living and Learning on our Facebook. Thank you all so much once again for listening, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and check the description for a survey where you can put in your input on our podcast or suggest any ideas, and we'll see you next time.